Are
Oh.
y'all okay and everything?
Well, like the Jewish trumpet maker said, shofar, show good.
You got your dad jokes ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so we're going to be talking about today signs of the covenant. I believe it's chapter 8 in the book, and it's a long chapter, so I wanted to divide it up in at least two lessons. Usually I talk a little bit and then everyone also contributes. Um, and so the signs of the covenant are we're referring to right now are the tefillin, mezuzah, talit, and tzitzit or tzitziyot plural. So the mitzvot of the tefillin, mezuzah, and tzitzit serve as reminders of God's presence and commandments. And it says in Numbers chapter 15, 37 to 41, and remember all the commandments of the Lord and do them. It's probably not all those verses, just part of it, but loving God, that's basically what these remind all of them, the tefillin, the mezuzah, and tzitzit, they're all about remembering God's commandments and doing them. Um, it's three different ways to do it actually. Um, and Loving God, this is one of the points that Rabbi Donan Halevi makes in his book, that loving God is as important as obeying him, influencing all aspects of life. In the Shema, it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might." In the book, it talks about how both love and fear of God are essential for devotion, with love considered a higher form. In the Talmud, Sotah 31a, it says that greater is he who serves in love than the one who serves in fear. I believe that fear and love have to do with how close of a relationship you have with the Almighty. I believe that if you don't know him very well and you don't understand, but you're coming to approach him and you're not used to understanding or knowing or studying who he is and what he's about or understanding why he does certain things or requires certain things, then we approach him more like in fear. But as we, which is not bad, it's definitely not bad to fear the creator because he is all powerful, almighty, etc., in charge of the whole entire world, has our fate in his hands, all that stuff. But as we get to know him, we realize everything that he does is for good, even the bad things in our life. Then we can, I believe, grow to love him in our service and not only out of fear. And I've personally seen this the most with we have two children who are not our own that we take care of. We didn't actually adopt them, but
We're guardians.
but we're like guardians for them. And I think, the relationship really in the beginning, it starts off kind of as fear, like we have to stay with these people. They're going to take care of us now. We don't really know you know, how they're going to be towards us. And so they would obey us out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And as we build a relationship with them, then they're like, oh, they care. They're going to be there for me. They're only telling me things because it's for my good and things like that. And so there can start to develop a more loving relationship, understanding that what we're asking them to do is good for them, not just because we're tyrants or something like that. So in the Sifrei, regarding Deuteronomy 6:4, it says, "You shall love the Lord your God." The Sifrei, it says that this was interpreted by the sages to mean that loving Hashem your God also means that you cause the name of the Lord to be beloved. So if you're doing things, if you're keeping God's commandments in such a way that it makes other people turn away from the Torah, turn away from the Bible, turn away from the Hashem, then perhaps you may be doing it not exactly as you should. Sometimes in our zealousness, we can do that if we're new, but
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then I think the men are gonna take over this one. This is really a men's command.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, at the command of tefillin, we have here in Deuteronomy 6, verse 4 through 8. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up, and bind them as a sign on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes. And so that command is directly is interpreted literally through our sages, and so that we have literal ways to keep this command, and that is through the tefillin, these little boxes, little black boxes that have the actual have scrolls in them of these verses and a few others. I think it has 4 separate texts in there, and it has them on your arm, and it also has them on your head. All of them are both places, and it is a commandment only for men. Well, I mean, women, it's required of men. Women can wear tefillin if they want to, but it's not commanded or required of them. And because it's a time-based command, mitzvah. So if there's something that it has to be done at a certain time, women are exempt from that because their time is more fluid, yeah. If they have to take care of children or doing other things, it's just in Judaism, any time-based command is directly to the men, and women can do it if they want to or if they have time to, that kind of thing. But it's not necessarily commanded. And there's other ideas behind that also. There's certain sages will say that women have a closer connection to Hashem, so they don't need to be reminded so much as us men. Maybe, I don't know. There's many different views about it.
Also, and if we remember the pilgrimage festivals that happen 3 times a year, only the men were commanded to go up, not the women. So I think that's where that principle partly comes from.
Definitely. And also so these things you wrap them around. One is on your arm. It's on your weaker arm. So if you're left-handed, it would go on your right arm. So if you're right-handed, it goes on your left arm, and it goes on your head, the one on your head. And there's a certain order to put them on. Not sure if we want to go through the order or not, but
yeah, go ahead.
All right. So first you would say your blessing. You'd put it on your arm, and you'd get it to your hand, but you would stop there. And then afterwards, then you'd put the one on your head. If you don't say anything, if you're not interrupted or anything, you don't have to say any other blessing. But if you are interrupted in between the one on your hand and your head, then you say another little blessing, and then you put the one on your head. And then after that one is on there, you say another. You repeat a verse in the Tanakh from Micah. Yeah, it's in Micah. As I betrothed you to me, and then as you're saying that verse, you're wrapping it around your fingers, your hands, and your fingers, and you make different symbols on your hand. A shin. There's a shin on your arm and on your hand, and you're spelling. There's different knots on the tefillin, and you're spelling the word Shaddai through wearing all the knots and different things, and the way you tie it, you're spelling the word Shaddai.
That's beautiful.
which is Hashem. And then you'd say your prayers, and I guess the minimum is to wear the tefillin for the Shema and the Amidah. If you're in a time crunch, or you say you show up in a shul and there's only one pair of tefillin, sometimes they'll pass it around, and the men will just say those 2 parts of the shacharit while they're wearing the tefillin, so that they perform the mitzvah. And it's actually a pretty important mitzvah, because it's mitzvah, the only one. It's very important though, because it's like in the Torah, right? And it's like it has a higher
Weight.
Yeah, it has a higher weight. I was reading in the book here. And then when you're taking them off, you do the reverse. So then you unwind it from your hand, but then you leave it partly on, and you take the one off your head, and then you take the one off of your arm. So it's kind of like the reverse. So the reason why they do it this way is kind of you're doing it all as one, and so that's pretty interesting. And another thing is, even if you can't, so say you can't, say you're missing an arm, or maybe you're missing both of your arms, you still have to at least do the head one. You do what you can do, that kind of thing.
So if you're missing your weak arm, you just do it on your strong arm.
Yeah, and if you're missing, I mean, both of your arms, you're gonna just do it on your head. And there's something else that was interesting that I was reading. No, I can't remember. But anyways, so yeah, that's it was like this is this commandment you don't do on the holidays, on
Yom Tovs.
on any of the Yom Tovs, any of the Shabbats, because it is a sign, is a reminder. But when you're doing it on Shabbat, that Shabbat is a reminder already as it is. So
You don't need another
in a sense, you may be, if you do it on, if you would do it on Shabbat, you're like taking the greater, I guess, weight of the Shabbat. Like the Shabbat is such a high level of reminder that you're like, it's like you're saying it's not enough or something. It's like you're degrading it in a way somehow. But so that's I mean, that so our teachers tell us, to not do it on those days. Only do it only do it on the weekdays, on the regular weekdays. And there is some going back and forth about the intermediate days of like I said, intermediate days of like Sukkot or Pesach. And some groups say you do, some groups say you don't. And then
mostly they don't.
The final answer is whatever your community does. So with our community, we've actually have done it on those intermediate days because we don't get to wrap tefillin together very often because we're all spread out all over the place. And so that'd be the only real reason that we would do it on those intermediate days of Sukkot or Pesach. But other than that, if we had like a bigger community here where we would be wrapping tefillin often together, we probably wouldn't do it on those days. But I think that's the only reason that we would do it on those days.
Sing with God.
So in Exodus 13 verse 9 through 16, it says, "It shall be a sign on your hand and as a memorial between your eyes, that the law of the Lord may be in your mouth, and it shall be a sign on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes. For by strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt." And this last one in Deuteronomy 11 verse 18, "Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds, tie them as symbols on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads." And so, yeah, I mean, some will say that this is a literal, these signs on your hand and on your head. There's this mark of the beast idea, and it says, the mark of the beast will be on the hand and on the head. And so this is like the kind of the opposite of that, and it is a kind of a literal interpretation. But I believe that, I mean, it could be a literal. So obviously we're going to do it, but I think it's also a symbolic idea, and that it's like what you're doing with your hands and what you're doing with your mind is it in tune with Hashem? Are you keeping the Torah? Are you following His ways? Are you loving like Hashem? That kind of thing. And so I think it's even further than just the actual physical act. And maybe like the physical act should also affect your spirit, affect your way, the way you think, the way you do. And so,
yeah. And you were saying yesterday on Shabbat how people are always, we were talking about how Christians are always trying to figure out what's the mark of the beast. What is this 666 that's supposed to go on the forehead and the hand? But like someone who's trying to study counterfeit money and detect, counterfeit money, they don't waste their time studying what the counterfeit is.
Mhm.
They only worry about studying what true money looks like. Therefore, we don't have to worry about what exactly the mark of the beast is. We have to worry what should be on our forehead and our hands.
Our mark, yeah, our own.
Because if we know what should be there, we don't have to worry about what shouldn't be there because we have what should be there already.
Mhm.
I think it's more important.
Mhm.
And so that's why we study Torah instead of trying to figure out who the Antichrist is or, what 666 means or, anything like that.
Yeah, well, that's about all I have to share about tefillin. I mean, I guess a personal note, for me, it was very meaningful. The first times I was wrapping tefillin, it's just such a meaningful thing, and also in Judaism, it's like a rite of passage for boys. Once they turn bar mitzvah, they start wrapping tefillin, but before that they don't. And so for them, they kind of look forward to being able to wrap tefillin with their father, or whoever's also wrapping tefillin around them.
I have also heard that there are some women who are Orthodox, so they don't believe in like wearing tefillin all the time or anything, but that sometimes when their prayer, I've heard testimony like that. Some women, their prayer hasn't been answered, so they tried wrapping tefillin, and their prayer was answered. And so for me, I wanted all my daughters to wrap tefillin just once, like right after their bat mitzvah, to just have that experience once. Not that we have to do it all the time, but just to understand that, it's a special thing that we can do if we want to, and that it's available to us. And, when they when the men wrap it around their finger and they say, I betroth you to me forever, right? I betroth you to me in righteousness and justice. It's a beautiful statement that you're saying, a very, very powerful statement that you're saying, while as you're doing this physical act, saying that you are, wrapped in his, commandments, and you want to be part of his bride. Basically the men say that. It's very interesting. So I think it's just a beautiful thing that we don't have to do, but it's beautiful and perhaps can do.
Right, you're going to continue?
I hear someone saying something, but I can't hear it very clearly. Do they want to say something louder?
I think that was me because I turned on my mic and the kids in the background. I wanted to share some stuff on that, but we can go on to the next one if you'd
No,
like.
no. Go ahead.
Okay, so just quick and to the point, on your talits, you see right here, there's going to be a inscription, right? And this one, it doesn't contain the entire bracha, but typically it goes like Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu v'tzutanu lehitatef basitzi, right? And that you're supposed to read the bracha. You can have it facing you, or you can pull it over your head, flip it around, and have it facing you. Either way, but you read the blessing. And then there are several ways of donning talis, depending upon like your own personal custom. Some people, they will put it, like across their shoulders, and then they will flip it all the way over the front, like this almost, and then go over their left or right shoulder. The main important thing is just reading the bracha. And also, I recommend it. I don't know whether or not it's y'all's custom to do this, but if you don't know what this is a knottler. And I always recommend that before you touch things that are kadosh, you use the knottler and say Al Natilas Yadayim. Do y'all do that?
Yes.
Before prayer. Yeah, it's supposed to be done before prayer. Also upon awakening.
Yeah, and upon awakening. And also upon awakening, which is normally what you're going to daven tefillin. I don't think you daven tefillin at night. I don't know if you daven at the mincha. Do you daven tefillin the mincha?
Yeah,
Okay,
you
so
can. If you haven't had time to do it in the morning, or
yes.
say there's an emergency or something, you weren't able to do it in the morning, you can still do it at mincha, but you could only do it during the daylight hours. Yeah.
But I also like to brush my teeth before you say the name of God. You brush your teeth. You've got your hands washed. You're getting yourself clean, And then when you do have the talis on, and I'm just going to step back here a little bit, it'll be quick just for demonstrational purposes. But when you do have the talis on, you want to, before you take the tefillin out of the bag, and it's important for women to know as well, because you might be the only mother. You might be in a situation where you've got a son, a Jewish son, who's going to teach him how to bind tefillin but you.
Mhm.
So sometimes that situation happens. So it is important for women to know how to bind tefillin too. Now, in mine, I have mine set up so that the head tefillin will come out first. But generally speaking, I've been told that you want to take out the head tefillin first, right? Everything else is exactly the same as that he said it, except for the reference. I don't know about Micah, but in Hosea 2:19 is where we have Veristach li leolam verashtik li betzedek umishpat uvchesed, and that's when you wrap it around your ring finger 3 times.
Oh yeah, that's sorry. You're right. It's a Hosea. Sorry.
So that would be Hosea 2:19 through 20. And then the stages that I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, the stages that I know are going to be, you're going to bind tefillin. I'll show you a little bit what it looks like. Always cover your head when you pull out tefillin, even if it's a demonstrational purposes only, because it's considered Kabbalistically to be holy technology. But the tefillin has different elements to it. There's the head tefillin and the arm tefillin. And the arm tefillin won't have the shin on it, but the head tefillin will have the shin, right? I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's slide back in here for a second. And it also has the layers, which is for holds the different elements or the different portions that are in there. You see the shin?
Mhm.
All right, that's going to be for the head. So you're going to put on the my understanding is that you first put on the arm tefillin and then you leave it unwrapped, and then you put on the head tefillin. When you put on the arm tefillin and you leave it unwrapped, you're going to say the first blessing, which I'm not going to do it right now because one, it's not appropriate, but just I wanted you guys to at least be able to know how to. If anybody ever watched this video and you feel compelled to bind tefillin, you'd be able to.
Mhm.
So the first, you put it on your arm and you hold it out, right? And you say the first blessing. And if I'm wrong on this, Rabbonim, please correct me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehaniek tefillin, right?
Mhm.
And then you will put on the head tefillin, make sure the straps come in front, not behind. And you can adjust your strap at that time. You say Baruch Shem Kavod, usually touching it, and it should meet your hairline, and it should be aligned with the center of your face, which is the reason why a lot of these tefillin boxes have mirrors, right? So that you can make sure that the tefillin is aligned between your eyes, right? And then you'll say Baruch Shem Kavod Malkuto Le'olam Vayed. And there actually is a couple of blessings that different cultures say between those, but I don't say them or know them, which I should know them. Shame on me for not. But I usually don't say anything until the wrapping of the finger, like the rabbi says right there. And then we'll say, I will betroth you forever. And the Hosea 2:19 to 20 thing. And then that's what I do. And then at the end, once it's completely done, you're going to say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu limits al mitzvot tefillin, right? And then that will complete the process of binding tefillin. That's all I wanted to say, just to make sure that if anybody ever came and watched this, they would effectively be able to know how to do that. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. We also have it in our Siddur in the beginning of it. It goes through all the directions of how to do it. Doesn't go into detail, but it has all the blessings and things that you need to do. I would recommend that's the way I learned. I learned off of YouTube. I saw a rabbi, actually doing it in front of me, and he explained like the different ways you can wrap it around your hand. There's like probably like 4 or 5 different ways, and I chose the one that I thought reflected most with me. It was like with the shin there's 2 ways for the shin could go, and one was way that if the shin was facing outwards, you're kind of giving peace, shalom to people facing outwards to others, that kind of thing. I thought that was great, so I followed that way. But there's other ways, there's other things, they mean different things. So, but yeah, and it's kind of nice to actually see a demonstration like Atsuyahu was doing. In this video, I don't think the video of him doing that was recorded. So if you are watching this later, yeah, go into another video, YouTube video, and watch someone wrap them, and you'll get a better idea of how to do it.
Yeah. Atsuyahu actually went to what we were going to discuss later, but that's okay. Maybe we should have discussed it first, because in the morning prayer, it's more,
First,
you don't do tefillin first, you do
tzitzit
you do the
first.
talit with the tzitzit first. So we can talk about that next instead of later. Hold on one second.